Hi, and welcome back to the Ologies, Episode 9. This is SerialKillerOLOGY Pt2. You wanted it, you got it.
SerialKillerOLOGY. Yeah. I don't know why people want this.
People want it. The masses have spoken.
They really have.
We're into it.
From a data perspective.
Yeah, and we're here today. We've got a guest host, NayNay. Say hi.
Hello. How's everybody?
And she's so much better than Lil Sweet.
And
I don't know about that.
in the absence of Bill, we've had to call in reinforcements, but NayNay is equally as interested in serial killers.
I've got a confession to make. I told Bill that our offices moved, and I think that's where he is right now.
Yeah, he's are you
currently,
sure they're not
He's
here?
currently trying to get into the Comanche Peak nuclear facility, which it should be pretty interesting to see how that goes down.
Right. Well, he's going to come back a serial killer.
He's like, I'm so mad.
Yeah. Okay, so
right, let's get on this disturbing topic.
Last week was killer. This week's going to be even better. We're going to start off with the proverbial question of who's your favorite serial killer?
Hold on. Who's your favorite? Don't use the word favorite. Hey, what weird thing are you most person you most interested in? But we don't need to say favorites.
Listen, when I think of my Jesus, I like to think of him as a
he's on a rock star because my Jesus likes to party.
Yeah. When I think of my serial killer, like I said last week, like Ed Kemper's just a big force to be reckoned with. You know, smart.
All right, Courtney, which NayNay, which serial killer most intrigues you?
Probably Ed Gein. And I might be saying his name incorrectly.
Spell it.
Gein.
Gein?
Yeah.
Close enough. You know what? He's an asshole serial killer.
Yeah.
So,
He
mispronouncing his name. Don't worry about offending him.
Your name Toby, for all I care.
There are a few movies that are somewhat based on his life, I guess you could say.
Which ones?
A Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh.
Silence of the Lambs.
That's been made like 4 times, and it's being remade right now.
And Psycho are the top 3.
Really?
I had no clue.
Yep. So he's deceased now.
Well, Courtney, thanks for joining us today. Let's get into that.
I told you, NayNay is going to be
you're one of those guys who just one-ups everybody.
I'm not one-upping.
And what's the line in that movie? It's like, nah, man, I know somebody that's way worse than that than me. Okay, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yep. And
what part of Ed Gein's story is based on the
his
Texas
background?
Chainsaw Massacre?
So once you learn his background, you kind of know where the movies kind of take a little bit of his background.
You're never babysitting our kids again.
Wisconsin, late 50s.
Okay.
Had his dad was an alcoholic. His mom was like ultra religious.
Okay.
Thought women were evil.
See, that's the stuff you talked about in the last one.
So
there's some precursor.
Yeah.
There's some,
So that kind of comes in with the psycho part,
right?
With
the mom
and
piece.
Stuff. Yes. The Silence of the. So he only killed 2 people. That's
that we know of.
That one too many. So the 2 he killed 2 ladies. One was the owner, I think, of a hardware store, and then one was the owner of maybe like goods like
a mercantile, like
yeah,
a
something
store.
like that.
Yeah.
So my thinking is, these women, they owned their own businesses, they were of authority, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so killed them, and then I want to say he dug up bodies too. But when the police
Let's be clear. When you say you want to say, you mean that like I'm hoping to remember this correctly.
Yes.
Not because that's what I wished Ed Gein had done. In addition,
only you would take it there.
I'm just saying this is a disturbing ology.
I don't want that to have happened, but I think that's what happened.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that for Clint.
So
we're talking about your favorite.
So when the police got to his house, so he lived in they had like 150 acres. Very rural. How you say that word?
Rural.
Thank you. So not a lot of people over there. So when they got there, they found one of the ladies hanging dead, and he had peeled the skin off and used it for like chairs.
That's the
Buffalo
Bill. Yeah, the Silence of the Lambs.
And he got their face and used it as masks.
Or put some lotion on the basket.
But he only killed 2.
He killed 2.
That's it.
Yes.
What do you have any insight into that?
He got caught. Well, my thinking is I don't know the circumstances that led him to that, but my thinking is maybe because they, of authority and
position of power.
Yes,
It
because
puts
they
the lotion
owned
on the skin or it gets the hose.
because they owned their own businesses.
Sure.
And him and his mom was crazy.
It's funny because last week we were talking about kind of like the origins, how these guys got started, you know, and the fact that it also comes from like a very rough relationship with the family, you know, with the
some
mother,
authority figure,
yeah, with the mother being overbearing, with the father being abusive, or vice versa for that matter, you know, and that was what kind of like, you know, they degenerate into serial killers, you know, or somebody that has the potential to do that. And I think this Ed Gein guy is probably the same, you know, where his mother was ultra religious. She was probably very hard on him.
Yes.
I'm just speculating here, people. You know, nobody, please go easy in the comments.
Get all Tiger Mom on us.
Yeah, yeah. And his father was an alcoholic, most likely abusive. So with that, you know, you've got dualities there.
Yep.
But there are also very much so similarities there.
So the mom thing was psycho. The Buffalo Bill thing was the wearing the skin
suit.
Yeah.
And in the rural area was probably the Texas Chainsaw
and
Massacre.
you know what's his name?
Leatherface.
Leatherface. The one that someone's actual face on him.
Yeah.
So that kind of goes into
That's true.
Wow. You know, I used to listen to a
awesome
podcast.
Around Christmas now.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Hey,
it's
joy to the world.
Yeah.
Don't get lost.
Nightmare in
rural
Texas.
Areas, yeah.
I used to listen to this podcast. It's I don't remember the name of it, but I would plug him if I could remember the name. But he has like he kind of sounds like Dracula. I think he's from somewhere in the Eastern Bloc Europe. But he has a great podcast where he spends several hours profiling these killers. And one of the killers that he profiles, and the only reason I'm bringing this up, because we're not going to talk about it any further, they're called the Toolbox Killers. And speaking about, I don't get grossed out when it comes to these things. Like I say, I find them very interesting, thought-provoking. The Toolbox Killers, because they actually have audio and transcribe from the courtroom, like the typist, audio. I got through about 30 seconds to a minute of he was reading the audio transcripts from the courtroom, and I had to turn it off. And I've never returned to it since. They called them the Toolbox Killers because they worked in some type of trade and had a toolbox in their truck, and those were the tools of death, torture, and destruction. Led to the demise of I don't know how many women, but it was disgusting. And so if you're at home and you've got a stomach for that, check it out. If not, I said if you had the stomach for it. If not, you didn't hear it from me. So,
Tool, what is it called again?
Okay, there we go, Courtney. The Toolbox Killer.
Or you could watch Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer. Stop me. You do that as well.
You did make me think about something. Talking about, I forgot, you said something that made me think of this. So we moved from Arkansas to Texas, and there were 3 things that terrified me to no end about moving to Texas. One was cockroaches. I heard cockroaches are really big in Texas.
Yeah, they're huge. We love them.
I'm not a bug person. 2 was the air and the water. I always thought I was gonna. I didn't drink water. I only bottled water. And then 3 was the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Really?
All 3 extremely rational fears.
Yeah.
Well, my friends had told me that it was real, and it happened in Waxahachie, Texas.
Yeah.
And I was terrified.
Yeah. Being from Garland, y'all were close.
Yeah.
G-Town.
Close enough.
Too close for comfort.
Yeah.
I now know that it was make-believe.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. But based on, and I love that when movies preface that with based on a true story or... Yeah.
Let's go back to the air and water thing. What scares you about Texas air and water?
Texas smog?
I heard there was lots of smog.
Hey, you heard wrong. Cockroaches, I'll give you.
And then the water was dangerous, and you should not drink it.
Yeah,
This is 80. We
infuriating.
were down here in 86?
Yeah. 84,
as a true
86.
No, it was
Texan,
86. I think we moved down here in 86.
As a true Texan, has been here since, not me, but my family's been here since the early 1800s.
Water's
Stop.
okay?
Stop. Yeah,
She's good with it
everything's
now.
fine.
I'm fine with it now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, back to serial killers.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, Ed Gein's a good one. Toolbox Killers, if you got the stomach for it. What's another one?
What is his name? The Golden State Killer.
Oh, yes.
And one of the things we talked about last time was how messed up the 70s were.
Yeah. It just in general, and that's when the Golden State Killer was really ramping around and doing all these things. But I didn't do it justice last time. I will this time. The the blogger that started that name was Michelle McNamara, who actually died right before they found out the killer's identity. And she was married to Patton Oswalt, the famous comedian. And I had
did not know that.
Yeah. So she actually died right before them.
Is this the one you were talking about? Who the ancestry?
Yeah. So basically, they had dug up. She basically petitioned all the local jurisdictions.
She was brilliant.
Yeah, and she got all the boxes, and they delivered like 150 boxes worth of evidence. And inside those boxes, there were actual DNA, pieces of DNA. And what they decided to do was to submit these to, I forget, and I don't want to, like 23andMe type, ancestry, where they tracked the lineage. And what they did was they found his relatives, and they basically could deduce down. And figure out who it was. And it was actually a guy who had served as a police officer. I'll tell you something fascinating about that, was that the amount of reconnaissance and information gathering he did before attacking a target was crazy. He also did it on a very big, on a schedule, almost a month apart. And I think there's probably something psychological about that. And I think it's a month apart, being that like the thrill of it would have worn off after a month. The excitement maybe wore off after a month. And maybe at like week 2, he was already feeling the itch, and he started to do reconnaissance. But then the main thing, while the cops' main theory was that it was always so difficult to catch him, because he always, not always, but most of the time, he would escape through like the not tunnels, but basically like we have green belts here behind the houses. They would have like low-lying ditches, like water ditches, where I don't think it's sewage waste, but like runoff. It's
like a canal.
Yeah, a canal. Thank you, a canal. And he would exit through there, and the dogs would not be able to track him. And then the other thing that I found extremely fascinating about him is when I see, and you can watch the progression. It started off with rapes, right? It began with assaults, rapes. And side note, he would stick around. He would rape multiple times and go in the kitchen, heat up your leftovers, crack a cold beer, right? And then wash, rinse, repeat for hours and hours and hours.
I also heard that he a lot of times broke into a house that had a couple and would tie the husband or boyfriend or whatever up and put plates on top of him. And would plates. So if the guy moved around and the plate fell,
slip and break,
you could hear it. So he would say, if you move, I'm going to know, because the plate. And
these people are so mortified, terrified that like it would be 8 a.m, and I'm sure that those people were still stiff as a board. So along with what I was saying, the progression, where he progressed from these assaults to rapes. And then he moved. He subsequently moved, and he moved, I think, further southwest. And he was known as the East Area Rapist. And then I forget the name. It may have been, I'm probably saying it's not Original Night Stalker, but maybe.
They did say that, the police said, and the detectives.
Y'all know a disturbing amount of information.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they did say that it was hard to piece them together, that it was only one killer, because like you said, it was like different
jurisdictions, and nobody was sharing information back then. So he then progressed to killing, and so he would tie them up, do what he did, and then ultimately kill them. And so the progression to me was like almost like some person that started doing drugs, smoking pot, doing whatever, and then ultimately leading to heroin, which is
I was on the show the other day, and I get asked this a lot. Hey, do you believe in absolute evil? And I'm like,
what?
Absolute evil. Do you believe that evil
absolute
exists?
Evil.
I'm like,
okay,
yes,
gotcha.
Without question, evil exists, and there are evil people.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree with that too. I also think that there's a metamorphosis that happens, starting with the family and them not having that solid foundation, them having trauma built into their life, absolute evil, yes, but the fact that there's a precursor, there's a catalyst to that in a sense.
Yeah, but I think there's things where you cross that social contract, and you just need to get hunted and taken down.
Oh well, I think we all can agree with that.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier when we talked about
the child predators.
Child predators,
Yeah.
Like deterrence. Hey, fear, love, and greed's the only reason anybody does anything, and if you create enough fear, then people stop doing the bad thing, right?
Absolutely.
Y'all did mention on the last podcast about this that there are many people who have the same circumstances.
They didn't.
And they decide
being crap
not
crazy.
to.
Yeah, that's something very interesting too. It's like, well, where where did these paths diverge? If you could take two of the same children and put them in different households,
the exact same pipeline.
Yeah.
You have one person that invents aspirin or solves cancer or becomes a pro football player, and the other person becomes. And so for me, I don't know. It's that's why my passion is protecting people.
Yeah,
I do think evil lurks.
Yeah.
But I think evil understands the language of fear too.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I like scaring evil.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of those guys, when they feel that, it's a power thing.
Sure.
They feel that power. Like the guy that's ripping people's faces off and assuming their body, he is now powerful.
That's why I like Bully Beatdown.
Yeah.
TV show Bully Beatdown. Man, like I was bullied when I was young. I mean.
Clint, what are you talking about, man?
Ask NayNay.
He was.
NayNay watched it, man, and like now, yeah, absolutely.
I know, isn't that crazy?
No, I'm trying to wrap my head around
it.
it.
100%.
Yeah.
You know what? And those dudes will look at me now. They're like, "Hey, Clint, how are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I remember you stuffed me in a locker."
Even girls bullied him.
Really?
Well,
one girl in particular was
one in particular. Yeah. One in particular. Alice beat me up so bad. She spun me around a merry-go-round. Every time I came around, she punched me.
Oh my God, that's serial killer mentality. Who?
Yeah, I wouldn't give her my lunch money.
Hey, do you know where Alice is these days? You know what? I'm a Googler. She's probably doing 5 to 10.
I don't want to talk to Alice, man. Alice,
she might have been 14 or 15 in the first grade.
Yeah.
Oh. Wow.
Well, and Courtney told her, NayNay told her where I was. She's like, "Where's your brother?" She's like, "He's right over there." She's pointing right over to me. I was like, "Man."
Yeah.
I did not want to be on her bad side.
Right. So. Well, there's, you think about that, and like the kids that show those kinds of tendencies,
Yep.
And as they grow and progress, and then it's funny. I have a friend who's a teacher, and she says, "We have a bad kid, and we have a parent teacher sit down. We generally are able to pinpoint the issue being the parents,
sure.
Yeah.
It's like pit bulls. Pit bulls are good. It's the owners that make pit bulls bad.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. And so with that, it's like, why was that chick, spinning you on the merry-go-round, punching you in the face, and that progression, it would take an equalizing factor for her to understand that was wrong and to not progress and continue to progress into being someone that continued to take advantage of people and ultimately maybe even progress on to killing people.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
Alice, if you're listening to this, I don't appreciate that, and I hope you found your way.
I'll still a little sweet to talk to you next, Alice.
Yeah, right. So everyone,
right, so here's another encouraging episode of Serial Killerology.
Yeah, and Merry Christmas.
Glad we did this.
Yeah, we say Merry Christmas around here, and we truly mean that, and we hope y'all enjoy this media.
Thank y'all.
Also, folks,
watch Die Hard tonight.
Yeah, greatest Christmas movie ever. Please, folks, remember to subscribe to the Ologies on whatever platform you're listening to this on. This has been a great blessing to us. We've kind of amassed a following faster than we ever dreamed, and we're very happy about that, and we all have y'all to contribute, so thank you. Be on the lookout for our new podcast, The Decisive Point, Pursuing the Lead. We are back cataloging these to release them on a more timely manner. So be on the lookout for those. Those will be on the same network. And then one more thing. We're going to put our Cash App and our Venmo in our bio. Please, if you can. We know Corona's killing everybody, but if you have a few bucks to spare, please.
Or if you want to contribute to the cause. For me, it's more about facilitating veteran and athlete transition. And contributions allow us to create things like the Ready Lab Network, where we get to host shows and help people share their stories and realize they can be winners. They can bring the ball field on the battlefield and be successful on the boardroom and the breakfast table.
Absolutely. We're going to have a lot of interesting guests on. It's going to be great. We're going to be doing a lot of things to benefit veterans. Thank you so much for the amazing support again, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for being on, NayNay.
Thank y'all.
All right.